Hello, everybody, and welcome to Electric City Sentai Denzicaster here on Geek Carolina, your weekly walk into the wonderful world of Tokusatsu. I'm your host, Mike, and this week I'm joined by
Joe Gibkin's homeboy, Josh. Woo! Good to be back, Internet!
even though you only saw him like 3 times last week.
It's always good to be back,
yeah, of course it is.
Because we're doing Johnny Sokko! Woo!
It's just me and Josh, so you know what we're watching. Johnny Sokko and his flying robot.
2 this down!
And 2 to go. God, you know, I'm just going to say this before I read anything out of this book. We trashed the first episode in what is the single most reviled episode of Denzicaster or any other show on our channel.
Oh, yeah.
More hate has been leveled at that one than anything else we've done.
Because we underestimated the level of passion of Johnny Sokko fan. Never again, by the way.
We will never do that again. It's also the most watched video on our channel ever.
So, thank you for hating.
Yeah. I'm sure that the last episode we did where we talked about Johnny Sokko will eventually reach those heights, and we have Dave to thank for that. But here's the bottom line, folks. We've been won over by this series for the most part. Mm-hmm. I think that's a safe statement.
There are a couple of episodes that are not quite so good, but...
And then there's episodes like one of the ones we just watched where that statement is giving it too much credit. Mm-hmm. So we watched episodes 13 and 14 today. So that is Opticon, although the actual English title screen sure as hell said Opticorn.
Opticorn, the eyeball.
So going by that, Opticorn must be destroyed. Although if you watched or are familiar with Giant Robo, the original Japanese version, it would have been called Ganmon's the Devil's Eye. But in that episode...
But interestingly enough, in Giant Robo, the animation, Alberto the Impactor, one of the leaders of the Magnificent 10, his giant robot is basically Opticon.
Okay.
It's a big metal eyeball.
Is it called Ganmon's?
Yes.
Okay, well then that's what it's based on Opticon.
Cool, yeah.
So Opticon, or Opticorn, if you will, a massive eyeball trailed by grotesque tentacles is dispatched by the evil Emperor Guillotine in order to assist the Gargoyle Gang in a kidnapping plot. Will Johnny Sokko and Unicorn see through this heinous plot in time to give Opticon a good poke in its monstrous eye and hand Guillotine another defeat? I love how they made zero reference of our new general. More on that later. Episode 14.
Fangore. Okay.
The Monstrous Flying Jawbone, or in the original Giant Robo, the Monstrous Fangs of Iron. The Office of... Okay. What did they call our stand-in for... What was Not China called again?
It was Tylon or Typhon.
I think it's Tylon or Tyl. I think it was Tylon. The Office of Unicorn's Tylon branch is what they call it in the episode. In the original Giant Robo, it was Unicorn China. Is attacked by Tank Corps, and an enormous, hideous monster in the shape of a flying jawbone is utilized to capture a Unicorn commander. Johnny Sokko and the members of the Japanese branch of Unicorn fly there on Giant Robot's back, ready to do battle. Okay. First impressions.
Well, we have a new general this week. Fangore, the handy-capable general.
Yeah, you're right. It's Fangore.
Yeah. And how many R's is it? All the R's.
All the R's. I exaggerate, but not by much.
He's got like Bubba teeth and a big bulbous forehead and a peg leg, and he has a crutch. He has a Swiss Army crutch, folks.
Yeah, he has a utility crutch.
I mean, it has cameras, which also functions as like a telescope. Mm-hmm. It's got a little fake snake that spits out like knockout gas.
Well, it's more like mild inconvenience gas.
Yeah, because it doesn't really seem to do too much. Well, that's kind of his deal, though. Is he's
a mild inconvenience?
Yeah, he is, because his gas, like, this gas will melt them into nothing, and then he uses it, and then they cough a little bit. No, I'm sure that if that wall wouldn't have gotten knocked down by Giant Robot, that they would have turned into Stretch Armstrongs like the other guys they used the gas on. But
Fangore is our new general. First things first, this old tokusatsu is not known for its cultural sensitivity. It just isn't. This is the 1960s. The world was not known for its cultural sensitivity in the 1960s. This is the single most racist bad guy I have seen in a tokusatsu show, quite possibly.
Yeah. Another first is the fact that they described Oju or
Oja.
This mythical
Ogus.
This mythical kingdom of Ogus, which is it's a pacifistic kingdom with no weapons and no military. Yet they're
No, they're not.
No, it's not. But it's known for its gold exports, and it's between China and Tibet.
Yeah, somewhere between the Himalayas and Tibet lies this country, where the only thing they have is gold mines, and that's it. They have a branch of unicorn, even though they have no military.
Considering that China, the crap China's done to Tibet, and they have even less than that.
The sense of geography in this show is lacking, because it also in the following episode where they say just outside Japan in the country of Thailand. No, just outside Japan is the Pacific Ocean.
I don't know too many large grassy plains that are outside of Japan.
So, anybody who pokes fun at this show, it's because of episodes like these two. Back to Fangore. If you think of the old 40s, and I mean like World War II era, movie serial and comic book depictions of Japanese villains.
Oh, like especially Jack Kirby's Fighting American.
Yeah.
A guy named, and this is not me saying this, folks. This was the Yellow Devil.
Yeah, I mean that was a term at the time that was used. But with the gross overbite, buck teeth, and the big forehead, and that's part of the depiction of this character. Now, to make it worse, the American dubbing actually makes it worse. The American dubbing, they go out of their way to make him sound like it too.
Oh yes.
And so, I'm not the most culturally sensitive guy in the world either. I think people are sometimes overly sensitive. And perhaps it's easy for me to say that, being a white male American. But I felt uncomfortable with this guy. I really did.
I felt uncomfortable, but not because it was... I mean, he was racist, but not because he was... I felt uncomfortable just because he was...
Because he was bad?
He was a PPV, a piss-poor villain.
Yeah. And he's got... The costume is horrible. The costume looks like a padded prison suit.
In Where's Waldo colors.
Well, almost, because it's got red backing, but it's black and white stripes on the front, but it has a solid red velvet, like crushed velvet looking back kind of thing. The prosthetics, the bald cap is horrible looking.
And in the close-ups, you can actually see the line that separates the bald cap from his actual forehead.
And I'm pretty sure you would have seen it on a 60s TV, too. I don't think it's just a matter of we're watching it on a high-def TV. So he's just bad.
Oh, and also, this is on Fangore's watch, where, this is the first, generally, Gargoyle, it's pretty much SOP for Gargoyle, where they dress up a gargoyle guy to look like a unicorn guy.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the first time that U3 and U7 are disguised as gargoyle soldiers. Yeah. Johnny is disguised as a gargoyle soldier, and Fangore falls for this.
Yeah. He forgot nobody showed him in the manual, you must be this tall to be a gargoyle soldier.
Because I thought that was what separated gargoyle from unicorn, is they didn't believe in forced child labor.
Yeah. So Fangore's horrible. Ultimately, we would love for them to bring back Spider.
I'd be all right with Mecha. Was it like Cyborg Spider?
Or Mecha Spider,
or promote that dude with a rockin' goatee that seems to be the chief unicorn combatant for Gargoyle, because he's never been he's in every episode.
Yeah, but he's like the Chief Gump. Give him a promotion. Let's give him a shot. I'll settle for Dr. Botanist at this point. I'll take Destro. I'll even take the Renegade Black Ranger. I'll take Harlequin.
Which me and Mike are kind of split on Harlequin. I was more favorable of Harlequin than Mike was.
But... Yeah, but this is a spider, botanist, Harlequin, Fangore. Now, the actual episodes themselves.
This first one, where they said that, oh gee, golly, the Otis princess sure does look like M6. Yeah, U6.
Yeah, sure does look like Mari.
There's a good reason why, because the same actress plays both people.
Now, nowadays, this is a very typical tokusatsu trope, that there will be a princess who happens to look like the female heroine of the show. Mm-hmm. That really wasn't a trope yet in the 60s, but it got there. That in and of itself is not a bad thing. It was an interesting concept. This peaceful, they even, I think, use the words backwater kingdom or backwoods kingdom.
No, that actually, because the chief actually makes like a point of this, and he's like, oh, this is a peaceful this is an antiquated backwards place. Don't take giant robot with you.
Yeah, which of course, it's in the title of the show, so you know the robot's got to show up eventually. But the whole... And the king of this kingdom looks like Santa Claus.
King Santa Claus of Otis.
Yes. So there's that, just without quite the beard. They're in the gold mines, and they discover this rare mineral that presumably is an inexhaustible energy source, but it has radiation that is so powerful that upon looking at it and mentioning the word radiation, I think if they hadn't have said that, they'd have been safe. And saying the word radiation, people spontaneously collapse and die and melt.
Or, more specifically, they turn into Stretch Armstrongs and then melt.
Now, you got to give credit where it's due, and I'll say this for it. Early tokusatsu shows also, like Giant Robo and others, they had to be really inventive about death effects for people. I mean, now granted, Johnny Sokko, they just pretty much shoot people a lot, but... If you're going to do something special like this, and Kamen Rider would do it a lot too, about 3 years later in 71, where the Gumps would melt when they got defeated, you had to come up with some way of doing it. And you can tell it's an early attempt, but it's different and unique, and it gets the point across. It's a dude melting from radiation. So there's that. It's our first introduction to Fangore, and... It's basically...
Spoiler alert, it's not the last.
No. That's not me doing the unicorn salute either, folks.
Oh, and also, this is a bit of staggering logic that old U3 has about Opticorn, where he goes, well, it flies at night, so that means it must walk during the day. Yeah. And I'm like, if it flies at night, it probably flies at day too.
I suspect this was a phrase because they couldn't figure out a way to hide the suit actor's legs when they lit it for day. Because if you think about it from an effects standpoint, it would that would be a really easy effect to hide.
Yeah.
If you were shooting for night, you just put the dude in black pants and have a black background. Mm-hmm. But if you're shooting a scene and it's supposed to be daytime, that just got a whole lot harder. Mm-hmm. And there are scenes where you can see the suit actor's legs in the tentacles that are draping down. It was interesting.
Oh, and also on this episode, Johnny Sokko kills a man.
Yes.
Like straight up, like just takes his little gun out, takes his gun out and assassinates a guy.
Bang bang! He shot him down. Anyway, now I will say this, and by the way, in case you're wondering, because I will say Opticorn or Opticon or Ganmons or whatever you wish to call him, is actually one of the most famous monsters in Giant Robo. As I've looked for pictures and whatnot to use in our opening graphics, that's one of the ones I keep coming across. It's even in the book. That, if you've never seen this show, is Opticon.
And I mean, really, the eye itself, it looked all right.
Yeah, and I will say that. They did a really good job, because it's something we've always praised this show for, and we will continue to do so here, because it's one of the things they got right in this two episodes.
Yeah, actually, this is the best thing they did in these 2 episodes.
Is the actual monsters, they're inventive about it, and they do the effects come off really, really well. The actual Opticon monstrous eyeball, it looks as advertised. It looks like a giant monstrous eyeball. So I give you that. The only thing that struck me as weird about it was it's a giant monstrous eyeball that shoots darts with messages attached to them at Santa Claus's, I guess. I don't know.
And also has a tractor beam.
And has a tractor beam. So there's that one. And then the monstrous flying jawbone.
Which doesn't have a name.
The monster actually has no name. Oh, no, apparently it does have a name. Its name because they put the monster names here for the sake of us knowing. In the English version, the official name of that monster is Flying Jawbone.
Okay.
But in the Japanese and Giant Robo, the official name of it is Iron Power. Okay. Aside from the fact that they went out of their way to make, we're going to call it what it is, the Chinese Unicorn headquarters look really Chinese.
I mean, the uniforms look like communism area Chinese uniform.
Yeah, I mean, they went out of their way to do this. This episode right here, 13 wasn't bad. Fangore's the worst thing I can say about 13. He's also the worst thing I can say about 14, too. Unfortunately, they featured him more. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, there's some extended Fangoring going on in this episode, folks.
Okay, aside from just the impracticality of this type of general, peg leg, horrible suit, terrible makeup, giant head, buck teeth that change between scenes.
I think he would have been better suited to be like one of Guillotine's guys that's on the screen as opposed to someone that's actually out in the field doing stuff.
You know, it's not a bad thing. You could have had him as one of Guillotine's lieutenants that's there with him like an advisor on the ship. That might have been a better role for the character. Because it almost feels like he would fit that role better.
Actually, like for this one, yeah, I give it up for the tank group. Mm-hmm. I mean, really good miniature work on the tanks.
The effects were really good in this one. I love the tanks. I love Giant Robo fighting the tanks. It actually looked really, really good.
Well, not especially when like Johnny was getting commands like crush that tank, and then it immediately cut away to like Giant Robo stomping the crap out of a tank.
They did a really good job with that. There was some really good compositing of our human characters with the miniature tanks in the distance and them fighting them. Mm-hmm. So they did a really good job in that, no doubt. Fangore, I mean, straight up, like not even Batman caliber death trap.
Oh yeah, because he captures the head, like U1 from Thailand and U1 from Japan, and basically says, I'm going to put you in these electric chairs. Easily can kill both of you with their 2,000 volts, and then they will connect after moving very slowly and kill you.
So it's a double electric chair. That the way they work is they play bumper cars. So they turn them on, they twist to face each other, they zoom toward each other, and I guess presumably one of them's the positive and one of them's the negative, and then there's a ding, and there's sparks and all this other stuff. And people fry. And they show this. And when they show it to us with the chairs empty, they use first gear. They flip the one lever.
Like, ding, boom. Yeah.
But I was like, how fast? No, not badang. It wasn't that quick. So then the second one is, well, how fast do you want this? How fast would you like their death? And make it slow, of course.
And they do.
And the chairs... It's slower than the wall gag from Star Wars. They creep towards each other, and there is a near agonizing scene of Jerry Mono, good old U3, with a rope, trying to lasso the switch for these chairs. A good 2 minutes of him trying this, failing like 6 times in a row before it finally works. And
the best is this is, of course, Fangore's like, I'm going to go have a toast to your imminent demise. Don't go anywhere. Yeah. And he leaves. And I mean, to his credit, I mean, they go there, and then the grunt comes in and pours him some Cavassier or whatever, and he's like, I bet you right now they are frying. And of course, at this point, they're Like, at this point, Johnny and Jerry are both at least out of their rope.
And you then have one of the most unlikely escapes I've ever seen in a show, where I don't remember if it was they tied Johnny up or not. Josh says they did, and I might have missed it. But I was watching. It looked all the world like Johnny followed the first rule of every D&D adventure, which is always carry 10 feet of rope.
Always bring your rope.
He pulls this rope out from his belt. They throw it at the feet of one of the bad guys in such a way that you could not possibly actually use it to trip the guy. Mm-hmm. Then they yell, "Ha!" Pull it tight between them, and the guy trips. And when the other one turns to shoot, 3 prone targets, only one of which is his friend, and is providing 0 cover as a meat shield, but somehow he can't draw a bead on either of our heroes. The head of China's Unicorn branch, so Chinese U1, reaches inside of his shirt with his mouth, pulls out a needle or a nail or something, and spits it, and catches the other guy in the back of the neck, which knocks him out.
And this, I mean, I actually gave out, like, just this little giddy when I saw that, because it was just so ridiculous.
And if it was a poison or knockout dart, how did he not hurt him? How did he not knock himself out with the dart?
It was a pressure point, I guess.
Yeah, ancient Chinese art of acupuncture. He hit a pressure point. It was bad.
And then once he finds out, the chairs have malfunctioned, he's like, use the gas! And I'm like, why did you start with the gas?
Yeah, there's gas. The gas ain't fucking around, folks. The gas actually is filling up the room at a record pace. And so, but Giant Robo gets there in time. The monster fight itself actually was good and amusing. The flying jawbone is as ridiculous as it sounds, but it had this really cool thing to it that I liked, where it would actually separate. So it performed like the Star Trek Next Generation saucer separation thing. Mm-hmm. And could come back together and basically was biting Giant Robo. I'm like, well, if you call it the giant flying jawbone, you expect it to be able to bite stuff. And so it does. And then Giant Robo basically headbutts it into oblivion. And
then also, just because Johnny Sokko's just not going to let this go.
We stopped recording. No, we're still recording. I thought we stopped for a second because I don't see the counter. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah, but that Johnny just couldn't let things go. And immediately after beating the flying jawbone, he commanded Giant Robo to destroy the Gargoyle Dome, the Gargoyle Base. Bit of a mean streak in Johnny these 2 episodes.
Yes. Anything you really liked out of these? Because I think we are both unified in our dislike of Fangore.
I mean, like I said, the miniature work, the compositing of characters, that was really well done. The eyeball actually looked good. The jawbone looked pretty. So, from a technical standpoint, these episodes were okay. It's just, a Fangore, dude.
There's a decent plot to the first one. Find a MacGuffin mineral. It can power all this stuff. The bad guys want it. That's a stock plot. I'm cool with that. The second one is just lure everyone into a massively inconvenient death trap.
Yeah, because that's Fangore, the massively inconvenient general.
Yeah. And I should actually correct myself. It's not Fangore, it's Fangar. Gar.
Oh, well, I heard Gore.
But... Yeah, in Japan he was called Red Cobra.
See, I would have been okay because he had the snake. I'd be like, and okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, all the characters, for the most part, have different names in Japan. Except for Spider. He's still Spider.
He's still Spider.
Instead of it being Dr. Botanist, it's Dr. Over. And yes, that is a more glorious name. And they spell it the German way with a K. But it's Dr.
Botanist.
He's Dr. Over. Instead of Harlequin, it's Black Diamond. And then you have Red Cobra.
See, if I would have gone with the color scheme for I would have been okay with that.
Yeah, apparently at some point we're going to get a guy called Mr. Gold. But, yeah, these 2 episodes are not their best. So, coming up, next time me and Josh sit down to watch some Giant Robo, which may be here shortly, we have episode 15, Eggnog the Iceberg Monster.
Eggnog the Iceberg Monster?
No. Eggnog.
I'm gonna need some eggnog with it.
Although the Japanese, or if in Giant Robo it was called, I would like to just kind of like take half of each of these names. Because the Japanese name was Eisler the Refrigeration Monster.
Sounds like a Pokemon.
A little bit. And then in episode 16 is Torozon, an enemy robot, which in Japan, Torozon is actually Giant Robo 2.
Neat.
So that is
Evil robot.
GR2, the mysterious robot. So, folks, we hope you've enjoyed this episode more than we enjoyed those 2 episodes of Johnny Sokko. This is probably the first time since the first episode where we watched an episode of Johnny Sokko and went, oh God.
Yeah, I mean, however, I mean, we were very moderate in our dislike of these 2.
I'm not moderate in my dislike of Fangore. I don't like Fangore. But
hashtag not my general. Never my general.
Yeah. So we hope you've enjoyed this though. Please leave your comments down below. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like, give it a thumbs down. Just let us know why. That's all we ask. If you'd like to help us out, you can do that by smashing that subscribe button. That does help us out here a lot. Or you can go to our Cafe Press store, cafepress.com/Geek Carolina. We hope you do both. When you go to our Cafe Press store, anything you buy there goes to help the network, whether that's with lighting or cameras or what have you. We do need to still get some lighting for the folks over on Chopsaki Cinema and the 8-Star crew over in Studio D. So we need to get that for those guys. You can also pick up our new robot-style t-shirt at the Geek Carolina store, inspired by the Johnny Sokko and his flying robot logo. Says Electric City Sentai Denzicaster in the style of the Johnny Sokko logo. So check that out while you're there. So, folks, until next time, I'm Mike.
I'm Josh.
And we will see you next week on Denzicaster.